Hello, this is Mrs. Newton. In this instructional video, I am going to walk you through how the Bootstrap Grid system works. The Bootstrap's responsive layout is completely based on something called the Bootstrap Grid system. And so I'm going to be walking you through what that means, what that looks like, and how we can use it to start designing and planning our layouts. Okay, so the Bootstrap works on a grid. The grid has 12 columns. And there are 4 grid sizes. And so if we look at our screen of our web page and we were to draw it out, Bootstrap, whenever we when we use the container class, it's essentially going to divide that screen into 12 columns. And we can, pardon my messy lines here. And so when we're designing our layouts, we're going to be fitting our content into these 12 columns. And so I can say, hey, I want my image to be here, and then I want my text to be here, and then I want another image over here. And so we'll be doing that and placing things based on this grid system. There's 4 grid sizes. There's a large grid size for large screens. That'll be like I think our laptops, whenever your browser is at its, taking up the whole screen, that's considered a large screen, but anything bigger like a monitor would also be included in that. A medium screen size would be a smaller laptop, or if you have a screen that's slightly smaller or minimized on your screen. Small screen sizes are typically going to be your tablet screens. And then anything that's extra small is going to be a phone. And since phone screens come in lots of different shapes and sizes, that's why we see some of that fluid text growing and shrinking out whenever the grid is in the extra small. But all that being said, if we go to the next screen, this kind of represents those 4 different sizes of grids. And so whenever we are on a large screen, the container takes up this much space, and each column within that grid is a little bit bigger than, say, the columns inside of the medium-sized screen. And so if we reduce the web page or the screen size a little bit, then the columns are going to be smaller, and then even smaller on the small, and then even smaller on the extra small. And the purpose of this is as follows. If I have an image that I'm viewing on a cell phone, you probably want that image to take up the entire width of the screen. But if you're viewing that same image on a large screen on your laptop, you might not need the image to take up the entire width of the screen. We might only need it to take up maybe 4 columns on that screen. Okay? And if you think about it, like, 5.5 columns on a large screen is about the same size as the small screen. 6 columns on the large screen is almost 7 or 8 on the medium. And so we need to change how much room our content takes up depending on the screen that it's being viewed on. And so we do that by planning out our layouts according to these 4 different screen sizes. And so we have to look at each piece of content piece by piece, each image one at a time, each paragraph one at a time. We have to decide, okay, how big do I want this to be on a large screen? How big do I want it to be on a medium screen? How big do I want it to be on a cell phone? And then we can use the grid system to help plan that out and help to design it. Okay, and so whenever we're going to be applying these, we're going to be using classes. I'm going to go into a lot more detail in a little bit, but it might be useful as we're designing for us to see this. We're going to see every class, whenever we apply it to something, is going to start with COL. So you'll have something like class equals COL, and then a hyphen, and then the screen size. And so, okay, so we're like on the medium screen, MD, I want this content, I want this image, or I want this paragraph, or whatever. I want this content to take up maybe 6 columns, like that. Oops. Maybe 6 columns. And so whenever we get ready to design that, that's how we're going to be applying those sizes in our HTML. But we need to pay attention to how many columns should this take up on which screen size. Okay, and so let's look for just a second at the web page that we were looking at last time. We started out with the Jumbotron, which was really nice, but then we have these 3 sections down here. We have heading 1 with its paragraph, we have section 2, and section 3. Okay, And really, on an extra large screen, I don't think it looks very good to have the paragraph go all the way across the screen. It would probably be a little bit more readable, and it would look a little nicer if that paragraph only took up part of the screen. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is walk you through designing a layout for these 3 different sections on our page. Okay? And this is something that I recommend that you do anytime that you're ready to design a page in Bootstrap. So I'm going to take, you would probably do this on paper or on your desk or something, but I'm going to do it in just a OneNote. Okay, I know that I have a screen. Oops. I don't know. Go away. I know that I have a screen, and in that screen I have like my Jumbotron, which I'm going to kind of leave on its own. I'm going to have 3 sections. Okay, so I have 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to need to plan out what those look like on different screen sizes, okay? So I'm going to start, whenever you're designing for Bootstrap, if you go to Bootstrap's website, you're going to notice a little key phrase here that's important, and that is that Bootstrap framework is a mobile-first project. It's a mobile-first framework. And what all that means is that when we're designing things in Bootstrap, we want to consider mobile first. We want to consider cell phones and mobile users first when we're planning, because those are more and more what make up the people who are using and viewing our websites. And so I'm going to start with an extra small screen. So with my extra small screen, instead of drawing it, I'm going to insert a table just because it's hard for me to draw with a stylus. They only have 10 columns, so I'm going to have to insert a couple more. Okay, here we go. I wish I could make those smaller, but I'm not sure how to do that, so we'll just bear with it. For my extra small, which is like a cell phone screen, I'm going to want to design this. Now, if I'm looking at this content on a cell phone, like that's a really, really thin screen. It's probably something like this. I probably don't want to try and fit 2 sections, one right next to the other, side by side. I think that it probably makes sense for each of these sections to take up all 12 columns on the screen. So that means that for each of these, for my first section, my second section, and my third section, those are all going to take up all 12 sections. And so I'm going to pick a new color. Like blue is great. I'm going to have like 3 of these. I'm going to have one. I should probably go ahead and say, hey, let's insert another couple of rows. I'll have blue for section 1, that guy there, and then maybe my third section would be like this one. Okay. So I have my 3 different things there for my extra small screen. But now I'm going to get to the small screen. Oops. Nope. Come down here. Come down here. For my small screen, this is going to be like a tablet. And so that would be something that looks like this size. Okay. And so for this, I mean, you could have everything take up 12, but that's not, I think for this example, we're going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to leave maybe heading 3. I'm going to let heading 3 take up all 12, but then I'm going to make heading 1 and heading 2. I'm going to make both of those take up 6 columns. So heading 1 will be on this half of the screen, and heading 2 in that section will be on this half of the screen. Go away. Okay, and so that means that my blue is going to be taking up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. And then that means that my red, which is the second one, is going to take up 6 columns. And then my green is going to go all 12 columns underneath. If you want like that. Okay? And so that will look a little bit different on that screen size. Then we're going to go ahead and move into the large. Actually, before I go to medium and large, I want to actually write out what I think these styles or what these different column styles are going to be. And so I showed you in here that whenever we're ready to add the classes, we're going to have column, the screen size, and then the number of columns that it takes up. And so I'm going to go ahead and start writing those out as I go. So for example, on extra small, my blue one is going to have column extra small 12. Okay? And then my red one is going to have column extra small 12. And then the green one is going to be exactly the same. Column extra small 12. All right, so then we're going to go to small. On small, red and blue are going to be changing. So my blue is going to be column small 6. My red is going to be column small 6. And then my green is going to be column small 12 again. All right, so we are on our way. We're halfway done. So then I'm going to design my next two screens. So I'm going to copy you, paste you somewhere down here. And then my next screen size after small is medium. Okay, so medium. On my medium screen, let's look at that. It's about like this. Now what I'd maybe like to do is, let's see here. You can be very creative with this and put it however you want. I'm gonna make, I have to think about how can I make these three things be on the screen and then still add up to 12. So something I could do is I could do like 4, 4, and 4. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll make them all even, 4, 4, and 4. So I'm going to come back to my screen here, and my blue is going to take up 4. My red is going to take up 4. And then my green is going to take up 4. Okay. And so then I can expect that to be what I want it to be. How do I make you go away? Go away. Okay. So that's my medium. And I'm going to go ahead and write out my code again. Column medium 4. Column medium 4. And column medium 4. Okay, and my last one is going to be large. So let's do my large screen. On my large screen, I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I'm going to make my heading 1 and 2 a little bit smaller. They're going to be 3 and 3, and then heading 3 is going to be 6. So it'll be 3, 3, and 6. And thankfully, 3, 3, and 6 all add up to 12, so that should work within my column system. So my blue one is going to be 3. And I'm going to go ahead and write out large 3. My red one is going to be 3. Large 3. And then what's left over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is going to be my green. Okay. And so then we're ready to go. And it looks like that. It looks like this blue and red that they're going to be a lot smaller than on the medium screen size. But remember that the columns on a large screen are wider than the columns on a medium screen. So really, they're going to be pretty comparable. And so at this point, you've designed your layout. You've planned out on all 4 screen sizes how big you want them to be. And from this point on, all we would need to do is go and add it into code. Adding it into code is kind of a multi-step process, so I'm going to do that in the next tutorial. But this is a basic explanation of the Bootstrap Grid system. Just to take you back here, it looks like this. I'm going to get rid of all of those. It looks like this. We have 4 different screen sizes, 12 columns on each size. Each column's a little bit thinner on each one. And once you've looked at your content and planned out how you want it to be, we can start writing out what those classes are going to look like and get ready to code them, which I will show you how to do in the next video. So thank you very much for listening, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.